Unexpected Journey, Memoir of a Siberian Deportee by Juzė Avižienytė-Žukauskiene. Translated from Lithuanian and narrated by Giedrė Kumpikas, niece of the author, and by Isabelle Kumpikas, the sister of the author. Chapter 43. First Day at Work. Having rested one day, we went to work. We went to the forest to fell trees. We were not experienced woodcutters. Kustova with Navalichina were the instructors. They commanded, shouted, but did not explain, as they should have, how to hew a tree, from which side to make the first cut so that it would fall in the necessary direction. I understood that only later, and only from practice. The work did not go very well. The mosquitoes and moshkis were eating us up, and we were almost barefoot. We were terrified of stepping on a snake, of injuring ourselves on felled branches and roots. We had 2 saws. With one of them, my oldest son Liudas and I would fell the trees. My second son Stasiukas would hew the tree with an axe. The other workers chopped up the branches, heaped them in piles. Kustova, with a horse, dragged the trees to an accessible spot. While Liudukas and I were working, our saw got stuck. That is, when the cut tree leaned to fall, we were not quick enough to pull it out. It almost broke. That would be a terrible catastrophe. If a person is killed, it is no one's fault, but a saw. Where to get another one? I was immediately removed from using the saw. I was given an axe to chop up branches. I was not successful here either. I did not have the strength to cut off a branch with one stroke, and the thicker ones I pecked at several times like a woodpecker. One time, perhaps not quite accurately, I flashed a hard branch with an axe, and bouncing back, it hit me in the foot. I cut my toe through the nail and through both joints. Blood was spurting forth. This upset my son and husband greatly, while the experienced women were yelling and insulting me for my clumsiness. Tearing off half a handkerchief, I tied up my toe tightly, but I worked no more. I was afraid of losing too much blood. Fortunately, it was getting on towards evening, and we walked home soon. I did not go to work for a few days. Since the hospital was 8 kilometers away, I was not able to get a dispensation from work. Therefore, it was considered unexcused, and for those days I received no bread ration. However, my husband and children were getting theirs. We all shared the precious bread. I was unhappy about depriving my hungry children. A telegram came that barges were arriving to take away the tobacco. Everybody became active. There could be no sickness or sick people. The director, having gone to the base of the Regional Cooperative Union, requested and received additional food. He brought back a small barrel of salted mushrooms. Everyone was jumping for joy. "Gruzdi, gruzdi," shouted the women. These were not gruzdi, but only a mixture of taiga mushrooms salted together with all their blades and leaves, and the smell was not appealing. But for hungry people, even this was a windfall. They were weighed out right away to everyone. Our family of 5 received 5 kilograms. It was rather a large pot, which of course evoked the envy of many. "Oh, you are lucky. Look at the pot you got, while we only got a small bowl," objected the single women. "How is it that you don't understand? Each one of us received no more than you. Pull all 5 rations together, and you'll have as much," I tried to explain. "Look, you even bring back 2 loaves of bread, while we only are given a small piece." I waved my hand at them. What could I explain to such as they? But that stupid envy sometimes created a lot of unpleasantness. The director obtained 5 bags, 200 kilograms of grain with chaff from Zakotserno, the grain processing point. His wife said that it had also been requested as a food supplement. They would grind it, and when we loaded the barges, we would get some flour. The director's wife and I were assigned to fan the wheat. We spread out sheets, scooped up that trash, one couldn't call it grain, into pails, and raising it above our heads, poured it against the wind onto the sheets. The grain, being heavier, fell closer. The wind blew the chaff and the dust further away. but the larger pieces of dirt fell together with the grain. I suggested we sift it through a sieve. Are you joking? Look how tiny the grain is. It will also fall through the sieve. It's all right. We'll eat it as is. We went to get the last 2 sacks. They took my breath away. They were sewn from the finest Lithuanian 8-headed loom linen cloth. My God, I looked at those sacks and imagined how our Lithuanian girls, by a feeble flickering light, on those long, long autumn evenings, according to Maironis, wove thin white linen cloth and spun the little wheels with their foot. How much painstaking work to weave such thread, how much labor to thread and loom those exquisite designs. Then the barbarians came. They needed to pour in grain. They were stealing or something else that had not been earned by them. They did not care how much harm and pain they caused others. Why are you gaping so? Tatiana woke me from my daydreaming. I picked up that 8-headed linen sack, and I felt as if someone's hot tears, as if someone's warm hands, and tears began to stream from my eyes. The sack slipped from my hands. What's wrong with you? Can't you carry it? It's not that, Tanya. You won't understand. Do you know what kind of bags these are and from where? Fyodor brought them back from Zakocerno. I did not speak. I did not explain. I dragged the sack where I had to and began to fan the grain again. But this was no longer grain with chaff, but good grain, apparently really destined as a food supplement for the workers who would load the barges. Notes. Gruzdi are a fine grade of mushrooms. Maironis is the most famous Lithuanian poet, the 19th and 20th century. His themes were patriotic, nationalistic, and humanistic. He is considered the poet of Lithuanian reawakening. Notes. Gruzdi, in Russian, a fine grade of mushrooms. Maironis, the most famous Lithuanian poet, 19th to 20th century. His themes were patriotic, nationalistic, and humanistic. He is considered the poet of Lithuanian reawakening.